Hello and welcome to Reclaim Your Power. My name is Rochelle, but you can call me Roro. And today we have the beautiful Jade. I'm so excited that you're here. And before I pass it on to you, I just want to give you like a little intro, just so that everyone tuning in can have a bit more of an idea who Jade is. So, Jade is a content creatrix on a mission to help everyone unlock their own creative codes. Tech Witch and Dark Priestess, I love that one, to visionaries and new paradigm biz owners. Here to inspire people to live their most wild, free, passionate, eros fueled lives. So, today, the topic we're going to be going into is how to unlock your creativity and monetize your passions in 2022. I would want to add and beyond.
As soon as you said that in my head, I was like, and beyond. And then you said,
Perfect. There we go. Like telepathic connection already. There we go. So, Jade, I just also want to add, like, this woman, when I first met you, it was a few years ago now, you were in a very different place. Like, you felt different, you looked different, like you're not the woman that you are today, let's put it that way. Like, and so one of the reasons why I actually felt really inspired to have you here and just to talk to you and for you to share your story, because I think it's very eye-opening and very moving, the transition that you've made. And I feel like a lot of courage has taken you to be able to transition through that and be where you are today, right? So I just want to share that and just like, you know, honor you for yeah, like stripping back and just coming back to your core, because like I can see now, like you're radiant, things flow, things work. And yeah, it's literally just like you couldn't be any more opposite. Like, almost, it's just like it's insane, like it's insane. Yeah, and also like anyone that goes and checks Jade's story out like more in depth, seeing photos, I think we need to have some photos going on here. But like just seeing the difference, like you'll see, you'll get it, you'll just understand. But on that note, Jade, I want you to take it away and just yeah, share a bit more in depth about what you're doing right now, and your story that got you here.
that was such a beautiful introduction. It's funny because I forgot half the things I wrote as well. And I was like, ooh, like, those are cool titles. And it's funny how this is all about reclaiming your power, because it's like something I'm really trying to own right now is these titles which people keep giving me. And I'm like, oh, like, how do I live up to that? And then hearing you say it, I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like me. So thank you. Um, yeah, story. I guess we met back in 2020. So that was obviously a very interesting year for a lot of us. And at that point, I was in a relationship. I was very unhappy, and I kind of had felt like I was just settling in life. Like I was trying to do all the things that you're meant to do by society's standards. And a few years prior to that, I had quit my corporate job because I was fed up with that and thought, you know what, there's more to life. And then I was doing travel blogging and running this really successful affiliate business. But I kind of pulled away from that world to come back home to my boyfriend. And it was like there was this constant battle of, do I follow the path that feels really alive and aligned for me, or do I go and do the normal things you're meant to do and just go back to Perth and start a family and all of that kind of stuff? And so I was at like that crossroads point, and I stupidly made the decision to go home and do the relationship thing. And that then led us to when I met you, and it was like I was at the lowest point, and I just happened to get really lucky during that whole COVID lockdown period because my ex got stuck in a different state to me. And that's when I managed to have all of this time to just go on this inward journey and do all of this self development work, and was like, whoa, like I don't want this life. I'm not who I'm meant to be. I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing. And that led me into the online business program that we both met in, and it led me to meet a few of the women that have become really good friends and mentors and people that I work with now. And
Mhm.
that's how I ended up on this path of working on self pleasure and integrating eros into society. Working with the Institute of New Paradigm Intimacy, which has just like completely changed my life. And yeah, I guess that brings us up to today.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the internal process that you probably went through was like way more in depth than that. Like that can only, skim the surface really, but like yeah, it was just just watching you. It's like playing a character that just is a character and then you're like, okay, now this is me. That's literally was it's like I'm just gonna like completely just change. It's just like,
Ripping
you
off
know,
all of these
um,
layers and then just being like, okay,
yeah,
this is me now.
yeah.
And actually it was quite fascinating and profound, like a little bit more to that story. I actually came, so where I live now is the Northern Rivers, and I actually came on a solo trip here for my birthday in 2020. And that was the day I decided to officially end my relationship. And I remember in that moment, I was like, I'm going to end up living here. Like, I just had this inkling, but I stayed on the Sunshine Coast for another year and I was just traveling back and forth for work here. And then every time I came here, I just kept being more and more cold. I was like, this is where I need to be. This is where my people are. And now I'm just like living in this world that I still sometimes have to pinch myself. I'm like, how is this real? Like, it's just completely different to anything I've ever experienced before. And I know like family and friends from back in Perth just look at me and are like, who are you? What are you doing? What is your life? But it just feels so meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so cool. It's just so cool. I love it. I just love it. I think it's just so inspiring. Like I'm just so inspired like by your whole story. So it's amazing. Um, so what exactly do you do then? Like if you can explain, elaborate a little bit more for people that don't know you. Yeah.
So I kind of call myself like, yeah, like the tech witch for all the sexuality coaches because it's kind of what I do. So basically, I work with a few different business owners who are like embodiment coaches, tantra coaches, sexuality leaders, that kind of stuff. And I basically do all of their like behind the scenes tech work and content creation and design stuff. So it's a bit of a mix of things. But yeah, like it encompasses social media management, content creation, branding, marketing, all of that kind of techie fun stuff that business owners tend not to like to do themselves. And I actually just love to do.
Yeah, and I love your content. You like the creativity that you have now is amazing. Which can we just dive into that? Because I know that that's like one of the biggest topics that we're talking about. I mean, okay, yeah, sexuality and like the energy, the sexual energy and creativity, like those two things. Like, let's go into the creativity because I know that as you started to change and as you started to unfold and who you were, or should I say, unravel to who you are, um, like your creativity, I feel has like transformed so much. Like what you make now and the freedom that you have and exploring that. Like I love it. Yeah.
It's quite funny actually because I go through my Canva and look at like the very first things I ever made in there, and I'm like, oh my god, it was awful. But now it's like, wow, I have come a long way, and people see my stuff and like really feel it, and like, oh, that's like such a nice thing. And then to have that. It like that's how I ended up doing all this creative design stuff for other people because they just saw my content and were like, I want you to create stuff for me too. So I'm like, if you look at my socials, I don't promote myself at all. I just I just create for the sake of creating. Like, I just love playing and sharing. So yeah, like a lot of my creativity just is inspired by my life and just whatever's fueling me at the moment and channeling through me. I get a lot of inspiration from being out in nature. Like I journal every day. I'm constantly writing and I just let things flow through me and then just get hit with these bursts of inspiration. I'm like, okay, I want to go home and do that now, or I want to do this. And yeah, like I know you said to they're like separate topics, but I actually feel like the sexual
I love
energy and the creativity, yeah, come.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's it. Yeah,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
I had to just touch on sexuality because obviously that's something that's like the field that you're kind of working in, but like they couldn't be any more together. So like for sure, like yeah, yeah, yeah.
how do I talk about one without talking about the other?
Yeah.
I like, because that's the thing. Like the moment I started getting reconnected with that energy and like tuned into my body, and because like our womb is the portal of all our creativity, and when we're connected to that energy and we're moving from that state of eros and aliveness and life force, like that's when our creativity comes most alive. So I spend a lot of time in ritual. I currently have one of the people I work with is running sex magic rituals from my house on Sundays, and I'm like, how did this end up being my life? But I get that like inspires my creativity so much. I get so much poetry channeling through me afterwards, and um, yeah, like just really just playing and getting and not trying to make things a certain way. Like I go into things without a clue of what's going to happen, and then I come out, I'm like, oh yeah, this was good or this wasn't. And it's just experimenting and not expecting an outcome, I guess, is the
Oh.
way I like to create.
Yeah, like coming in with more of like you're just inspired to just play and have fun, and then you see what kind of comes from that space without the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Which is why if you look at my social media, it's like just a mess of whatever I feel like posting in the moment, but somehow it all melds together.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I'm just not someone that can be in a niche. I'm just like, I just want to share what I feel like in the moment. And that's why I've gone on the creativity as my message, because then it encompasses everything.
exactly. Yeah, and I think I know I've mentioned this a few times to other women that I've been speaking to, but like there's this thing, and you probably have heard it as well, of master one thing, be the master of one thing, and it's just like, yeah, that's great, but like what about all these other passions and all these other skills that I've got? Like, why can't I be all of it? Why can't I be multidimensional and multifaceted and do it all? Like, why do I just have to be a singer? Or why do I just have, we need to practice, obviously we need to be good and we need to have a good skill at that, but like if we want to feel like we want to dance, or if we want to like be a writer, like, and write a book, like, or we want to like do some coaching, like, can we not just like do it all? Because I feel like creativity, like when we start shutting down and we start saying we have to be like this or have to be like this, it like becomes so regimented and like feels like it just squashes our potential and our ability to create and have flow because we're not actually listening. Mm.
It's so true. And I can totally resonate with that, because when I was first trying to run my business, I was like trying to follow all the coaches that had gone before me and like buying all these courses and following all these leaders who were like, do it this way and do it this way. And I was like, none of it feels good. And I was like trying so hard to put myself in these boxes of what a coach should look like. And then it was once I just decided, you know what, like I'm bored of talking about this stuff. I'm bored of strategy. I don't want to do any of it. I'm just going to create for the sake of creating and just see what happens. And that's when opportunities just started coming to me, because it wasn't about like I wasn't trying to force something. I was just doing what felt good in the moment and what felt true to me. And then it was like it's an energetic thing. Like I was just magnetizing the right people to me just from random places. And it's, yeah, opened so many opportunities. And all the people I work with have that same mentality. Like, we're all so multifaceted. And it's like, I'm just in this big creative bubble where coaches are artists and they're making music, they're running programs. And it's like, there's limitless possibilities when you just allow yourself to do what feels good to you. And it's really cool.
Mm. Yeah. So what would you say is like the first step that you took to really start unfolding and actually what I guess what yeah, what was that like um that first step that kind of challenged you but actually made the biggest difference, like in terms of you being where you are now and unlocking your creativity?
I think it was being introduced to the self pleasure modality. So I don't know if you were in the program still at that time when Vic came and did a transmission. Um,
I think so.
but we had we had this one call and she came in and she did this transmission for us in that program, and she was talking about her mission of integrating eros into society. And then we were encouraged to self pleasure every day. And back then, and she shared her meditation with us. And back then I was like, oh my God, like so like it was so shameful for me. I had a boyfriend. I was like, how am I meant to self pleasure when my boyfriend's in the other room? And like all of that conditioning around it. And it was so uncomfortable for me. But the more I did it, the more I started to connect to who I am. And the more I started to enjoy my own touch more than even connecting with my partner. And like I basically stopped sleeping with him altogether. Um, and yeah, like that, through that as well, like it started to unlock a lot of emotions and started to help me break through a lot of these stories that I'd been carrying and release a lot of the shame and the conditioning, and then just start to reconnect to who I was and what was important to me. And then that obviously led me to ending up working in this team that I'm in. And then that opened up other doors for me with people that are in that wider community. And it's just like, that's just catapulted so much for me. And now it's like, I feel so out of my depth at times still, because people are like asking me to priestess at events and stuff, and I'm like, but what, but how, like how is this what I'm being asked to do now? But it's just following those little threads and just trusting, like, yeah. There's been no strategy at all.
Well, I mean, strategy, but it's your own unique soul strategy. Like, I think when we tap into this, like, we have all our own strategy. Like, but your strategy might look different to mine, for example, what might flow for me. So kind of, it's like a loose strategy, if you like, but it's not what we think it is, you know?
Exactly.
Like, it's definitely not a cookie cutter approach.
No.
That's not. No, no. I don't know what cookie cutter would fit my life that in. Ah, that's so funny. That's so funny. So, when you talk about self pleasure, just yeah, I just love that. Like, I mean, that for me is powerful. Like every time, you know, when I use that as well, it's like I feel completely different afterwards, especially when we're doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
You know, like
And
it
like,
layers. Just yeah.
hmm. And it's not even like, so the thing that really helped me, or like really, can't think of words right now, but it was like, it's about being connected to your body, and it's not always about like reaching a outcome or like coming like orgasm or anything. It's all about just like being in tune with your feelings and like what does your body want from you right now, and getting out of your head. And like the more I started to forget what was going on up here and just like actually listen to my body was when things started to change for me. Because it's like I was constant when I was living in my head, I was always telling myself what I had to do and like trying to live up to everybody else's expectations and just like constantly just like in like it was just like, oh my god, like there's so much noise in there. And every time I started to drop out of that and just like get into my body, that's when all the layers started to fall away. And it's like, oh, I can just follow what feels good and just trust in myself. And then all of this magic just started happening, and it's I've had so much proof that it works.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that with the self-pleasure, because as soon as we say that, it's just like, oh, that's just like we have to make ourselves orgasm. Because it's not like that. It's like it can be as simple as like you just hold yourself and you're just like
Yeah.
slow and touching, and just
Mhm.
like just listening and paying attention. And then if it, if it leads to like more touching, like maybe breast massage or like, you know, yeah, like if it leads to an orgasm, okay, great. But it doesn't have to be like that. Like I think also as women, this has been my experience. I'll speak from my experience because that's the best place to talk from. Like the pressure sometimes to perform or to reach the climax, especially when I'm with someone, it's that sometimes feels like, and maybe it's something I put on myself, like I have to do that. But like I can also sense it sometimes with certain people that they'll want to make me come, or like it will be like I'm trying to get there, and and that just shuts down my ability to open. Like it's like I'm instantly just feeling like this pressure. So it's just like like letting that go. And I think it's the same with creativity. Like everything touches everything. I think um everything's connected for sure. So like for example, when I create, because I love to create as well, but when I have this like pressure and then there's this like, expectation, like it just, again, it closes that off, it just shuts it off, and then I'm like, nah. Like and then I lose my inspiration for it. Because I'm cutting off from where it's actually wanting to be birthed from and coming from, and my head's just sort of running the show, and then it's just like a disconnect, just like a floating head.
I really resonate with that because like when I have to do things by a certain deadline or something, I'm just like, nah, it just won't happen. I'm like, I just need to feel it and like let it marinate and just like really let it come alive in me. And I find like the things that get the best results and other things where I haven't thought about it at all. And I've just like gone outside and ended up just being inspired by something I've seen and then just taking random pictures or videos and stuff. And then it just turns into this thing. And I'm like, oh, created that without even thinking. Like it just was flowing through me. So, yeah, like a lot of it is just I guess making the space for it as well and not putting the pressure on yourself to say I have to create today and I have to like I'm giving myself this deadline and I have to do this in this time like but just allowing yourself space and time to channel the creativity and if it doesn't come through not making yourself feel bad and just saying okay it'll come another time like
Mm, mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. So if somebody is feeling really like blocked right now, creativity wise, and maybe even sexually, like, because I know that it's coming from the same center, isn't it? You know, um, what would you recommend? What's the best thing to do?
ooh. um I have a few go-to things. So definitely the self-pleasure stuff, like put on some nice music, light some candles, light some incense, get some oils, like whatever. Like you'll see, I've always got candles and I've got roses and stuff. I love beauty, like, and I don't know for a lot of people, but for me, aesthetics are a really big thing. So I'm constantly surrounding myself with beauty. I buy myself fresh flowers all the time and just little things to keep that creativity around me and like stuff that inspires me. But yeah, so self pleasure definitely. Um, also just moving your body, like dancing, ecstatic dance, that kind of stuff, because you're moving all of that stuck energy and moving stuff out. And then you'll find that you're clearing your channel to allow things to come through. Getting out in nature. Whenever I'm out in nature, things just come alive for me.
Yeah.
I've actually been struggling with that lately because my creek got destroyed, and I'm like, I don't have it in my natural place, but I live on a beautiful property. So I've got lots of trees and birds and kangaroos and things, and I just go sit outside sometimes and I just look at the trees and like start talking to the animals and stuff, and then things come through. Um, Even just like free, like just allowing yourself to do the stream of consciousness thing and just see what channels through. Because once you get out of that, I mean, my head point, and you're trying to write from your head, and you just get to that point where you're like a few, I can write for half an hour to an hour sometimes. So I'm like just going and going, and then I'm like, that's the gold. Um, so yeah, really just creating space for it and not putting pressure on yourself.
I love all of those. All of them are great. All of them are great. Yeah, 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 for sure. And especially like with the writing, like sometimes it can be difficult to like just like, what do I write? You know, what do I write? But like one of the best places to start is just going, I don't know what to write. Just literally say that. You know, I've brought on a journaling coach. She's amazing. She's incredible because, you know, it's come up a few times and, you know, it's just one of those skills that like, it's just great to have, just a great skill to have. So she goes into more depth about that, but we were touching on this as well. And just like literally just write like, I don't know what to write. And that's like when we own where we are, it's like we open up space to like move, we start moving the energy because we're just owning it. We're not trying to be anything different, trying to reach somewhere. We're just where we are. And then from there, it's like, just like,
That's, yeah, it's is the best way to be, because I think that's what blocks us so much, is when we're trying so hard to be something and not just accepting where we are. And the moment we just like, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now, and just let stuff pass or write it out, like anything to shift to be present with what's there is
mm,
going to then unlock that creative portal, because you're not trying to resist it, you're allowing it. And then as well, like I find I'm most creative when I'm like in the midst of some awful experience sometimes, because it's like your pain can really like bring stuff up, and you'll be like, when I was homeless last year, and that's when I wrote some of my most moving pieces of poetry that won me that we used to have this poetry slam, and I won one of the competitions with one of the pieces I wrote through that, because I was just like, I don't know what else to do but write. And I was just constantly using that as an outlet. And it really helped me through those times. So I find like, and I think like if you consider the art and stuff that we look at, a lot of the time, a lot of it has come from people's pain. So not that I'm encouraging everyone to go out and like inflict drama on themselves, but
yeah, 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 yeah. It's true though. It's true. It's such a powerful springboard, if you like, to, you know, catapult us into another space, and also gives us the chance to um, change other people's lives and inspire other people, and yeah, and like turn what was once shit into magic, if you like. And I mean, why else would we go through it if it wasn't going to be somehow used and transformed to inspire and help other people and serve other people in some way to make their lives easier, or, you know, just to help humanity rise.
and that's why I'm such an advocate for just like sharing your story. Like it can be that simple. It doesn't have to be this grand thing of I need to create something huge. Like literally everything I share is just what's going on in my life at the moment. And then it just turns into relatable stuff because we can think we're so alone in things. And then the moment we open up, people are like, oh, I've been experiencing that too. And it really resonates with people when you're coming from that vulnerable, raw place of this is just my situation at the moment and I feel like sharing and
Yeah.
people relate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there could be a lot of shame around that as well. Like we have to put on a front, we have to put on a face, and got to be seen a certain way, especially if we've played a lot of roles in our lives or worn a lot of masks. Um, Being vulnerable almost sometimes seems like completely not accessible. But I think in actually sharing and doing it obviously in ways that feel good, and that can obviously evolve, it helps us heal. I think it helps us personally heal and like heal the shame of who we are, and like we give ourselves permission to be seen. Like, yeah, like I know that you have, of course, is it Hiding to Shining? Is that the one? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like that's actually it's funny you said about the permission to be seen because that's actually something that's been really alive for me this week because we do those sex magic rituals at my house each week and it's on a Zoom call. So there's a few of us that are live in my house, but then it's also on a Zoom call. And it was really funny because the other night we traded places and the lighting wasn't as good in the new spot I was in. And I was like, nobody's going to see me. I was getting really upset about it. And I was like, oh my God, like, who am I? Why am I so wanting to be seen? When in the past I would have been like, put me in the shadows, hide. Like, this is such a shameful thing.
Mm.
And now I'm like, no, I want to be witnessed in it. And I just noticed that shift in the more you do it, the more you have that confidence. And it's nice to be given those spaces where you're allowed to be witnessed. And that's why I love social media as well, because we have these platforms that allow us to express ourselves. And as much as I get frustrated with censorship at times, um, like there's
At
so
times,
much.
censorship be real. So annoying.
I was so annoyed. Yes, but, um, but yeah, like I, for the most part, like I can share a lot on social media, and it's a really nice place to be where you're like and it's because people have the choice. You're not forcing it on them. If they want to see it, they can, and if they don't have to. But you're getting that opportunity to put yourself out there and be seen. And I think we've grown up being taught that it's wrong to want to be seen or it's wrong to like it's what's like showing off or self-centered and that kind of stuff. But I think if we can really just own the fact that everybody wants to be seen and we
Yeah.
all want to be loved, we all want to be received, and the more that we can put ourselves out there, then the more we can connect with people on a deeper level. And that's what I love about it.
It's like it's such a paradox. I think we're all such paradoxes, humans. Um, like we deeply want to be seen, but like we will deny that desire as well. We'll be like, we don't want to be seen, but we really want to be seen. Like it's just like the paradox, like coming here, experiencing this life, being human here. Yeah, we want to be felt. We want to feel and we want to be felt. Like we want our presence to be known and to be felt, to feel like, you know, our light is seen and is appreciated and that we can touch the world in the way that we were supposed to. In whatever
Mm-hmm.
capacity that is. It doesn't have to even be like being famous or being online or doing any of these things. It can just be sometimes even within your family, however that looks for you. But yeah, just, I mean, like for me, it's just like, what's the point of life if we don't get to truly, I don't know, feel like each other, you know, and let ourselves see each other really on that deeper level, like it's true intimacy, like living through intimacy like that. It's a gift. It's such a gift, and it can be very confronting. But actually, it's through allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, being confronting that we actually give other people permission all the time, and before we know it, people are like, "Thank you, thank you for being the permission slip that I needed to show me that it's actually possible to do that." You know?
Yeah, and it's something we say all the time because like something just popped up on my screen. Sorry.
Ta-da!
um but yeah, it's like something we say all the time because like our social circle is obviously very creative and very expressive, and we have all these events where like we'll go to someone's house and there's all these musicians there, and so there'll be like these improvised jam sets and like dance, ecstatic dance and stuff, and that's just like a Saturday night at home where no one's drinking, and it's like comparing that to my old life where it was like you had to drink and you had to like just try so hard to fit in, and here it's just like no, just express yourself, and like someone can be sitting in the corner, other people can be over there, like over there doing their own thing, and everyone's just merging together in, and it just works because there's so much permission and so much freedom, and like I just want everyone to experience life in this way because I compare it to what I used to experience and I'm just like, wow, like there's so many people that don't know what it feels like to truly be felt and truly connect with other people. And that's like such a shame.
Mm,
But yeah, but
mm,
that's what I'm here to give people permission to do, to feel like just
yeah.
feel whatever you need to feel. I think that's so important, that point that you said. And also coming back to the paradox thing, have you read Existential Kink?
Got it in my drawer. I have been reading it. I haven't read it recently because I've been busy, but like I have started reading it. She's great. She's awesome.
Because
Yeah.
that's the whole thing, like sitting with the, well, why don't I want to be seen and why do I want to be seen, and then like playing off with that, and like it's, that's a fun little self-pleasure thing to do, is like self-pleasure over the things that you think you hate but actually you secretly like them, and it's like, oh yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's like the kink is like, yeah, I love that she actually uses the kink concept and applies it to our shadows. Like, for example, you know, we can experience some really fucked up shit and we can experience some really hectic stuff in our lives, but on some level, we get a kick out of that. We like, yeah, that like really turns us on, or that really like, and it can sound really strange, you know, but it's just like in, you know, BDSM, like when people are moving through like, you know, pleasure from pain and doing these different things, it's the same sort of concept, really, isn't it? We get the pleasure out of the pain that we experience on some level. Why would we attract it if we didn't?
yeah,
And that can be a really hard concept for people to grasp, I think. Like, why would I feel pleasure from this? Well, why would you have it in your reality then? Because I know that's one of the things she says is the unconscious always gets what it wants. Period. Like, period.
yeah. And it kind of like even comes back into like that censorship and control thing. Like I've been really sitting with that one this week because I'm like, what part of me actually enjoys this? And like, why is this happening? Like, what is it about that? And it's like, that is a part of like when you don't have to well, like you don't have to think and you can just be told what to do, and then it's like you don't have to take responsibility. So yeah, like I like that when I don't have to be this powerful person that's showing to be in control and other people just tell me what to do. Like there
Mm.
is that piece. So yeah, it's kind of fun little thing to play with. I really enjoy it.
It is, it's true. But in doing that, we actually stop, I think, being a victim, and we actually can start to bring our power back and go, okay, so if this is what I'm wanting, if my subconscious is getting what it wants, then what is it that this situation is actually providing for me? Like, what is it actually giving me that I can celebrate? And it's like, okay, that's a win. You know, it's like, can we change that into a win? Because our mind's telling us we need to be doing this, 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 and this, and need to be this person, this person. That's great, but you're not that right now, and that's not your experience right now. And clearly, you're getting what you want already. So, can you get in alignment with that? And then from there, you can find a way and a pathway to like move into that next level. It's so
Yeah.
cool. I love it. I love it.
And that could come back to the creativity thing as well. It's like if you're struggling to create, like what part of you wants to be in that? Like I was realizing recently the whole struggling artist story and how much I still like to attach to that story because it's like, well, then other people support me and I don't have to go out there and create my own stuff because then like I'm connected to this circle of people who are all creative and we're all in it together and we're all struggling together. And it's like, do I really want to keep being in that story though? Or can I prove that you can actually be like a wealthy creator? So that's the archetypes I'm playing with at the moment and working through, which is fun.
Yeah, I love it. Just flipping it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything changes, I think, when we get creative, more imaginative with the questions that we're asking ourselves, the quality of
Mhm.
questions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So I know that part of this topic that we're diving into is about also monetizing, our creativity and being able to turn it into that. So, like, okay, somebody wants to start monetizing their creativity. Where do they begin? Like, what does that look like?
Um, So I guess I could tell you the different ways I've done it over the years because there's been a few. Um, so I feel like it first comes down to getting really connected to what type of creativity you are driven by and like what platforms you can like if we're talking from an online perspective, I guess like what platforms you're comfortable with, what kind of things you like to create. So for me, it was a lot of graphics, writing, photography, that kind of stuff. So the areas that were most appealing to me was blogging, influencer work, social media content, that kind of stuff. So I just started by growing an Instagram following. These days, there's obviously other platforms like TikTok and things like that. So I guess choosing the platform that's going to be most appealing to you. Um,
Look, little guy, hello, little guy.
so yeah, starting by choosing the platform that you want to work with and being consistent with it because like you can it's easy to be like, oh, I want to be on that one and that one and that one and like getting all that shiny object syndrome. Pick one or two to start with and really master them. So for me it was Instagram, and what I did was I used to use Instagram to drive people to my blog, and then I started connecting with brands and being like, I've got this following, I've got this audience. Do you want to work together? And I used to, when we were able to travel, um, I used to do a lot of sponsorship deals and stuff. So that was the first way I monetized my creativity. That and like doing that is like being creative in the way you create income is creativity in itself because it's like, okay, how can I monetize my passions rather than just doing this normal 9 to 5 life that we're told we have to do. So that was the first way. Other ways now, what I do is obviously I work in other people's teams. So finding your skill, your niche, and reaching out to people and being like, or like looking out for people that are looking for people to work with them and do things for them. There is so many people that are looking for graphic designers, brand designers, website designers, content creators, like all of this stuff. There are so many entrepreneurs out there that don't know how to do the creative side and don't know how to do the techie stuff, and they just want people to help them. And for me that's been the best thing because now I'm like in all of these different businesses, and I get to be creative in so many ways. The other thing is you can like create your own courses. If you've got something that you're really skilled in and you want to share with people, you can put courses out there. There is literally so many options. There's the whole new like art NFT space, which I'm still learning about, but literally the opportunities are endless when you start going down the rabbit hole of how to make money online and how to use your creative skills. There's so many things you can do.
It almost seems like there's no reason for anybody to be broke.
No, there's
Anyone that's
not.
listening that's experiencing that, there's no excuse. There is
Just
no
gotta
excuse.
clear all of the whatever subconscious things are going on in here that are stopping it from happening. But other than that, there really is no reason. Like there's so much opportunity out there. And it's just about experimenting until you find the thing that works for you as well, and be open to things not going right straight away. Like I've tried so many things to reach the point I'm at now. So
Hmm.
there's things that won't always be a fit, but you'll find your way.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Love that. And I like that you touched on like the so many ways because it's true. It's like, and when we are creative, we can just tap into that imagination and that creativity. Like we can really just make up anything. We have to, we make this shit up. Like we just have to make this shit up like a lot of the time. And that's where I guess the confidence and the courage piece comes in. And that's where we start to, bend reality a little bit and we start to like go against the normal, the grain. And this is where great things are born, I think, as well, when we're just allowing ourselves to just kind of go, well, I'm going to just have to make my own path.
Mm,
Because obviously what's unique to me is not yet created or not yet done. So I'm going to have to forward my own path a little bit, being bold enough to
yeah.
do.
Definitely. And I think a big piece as well is it comes down to who you surround yourself with, because a big reason why my reality has shifted so much in the last few years as well is because I completely shifted my circumstances. Like I was in that relationship where he had no interest in what I was doing online, and like that made me feel like what I was doing was wrong and like nobody got it.
Mm.
And then I immersed myself in this creative world where I'm surrounded by people that are doing all kinds of things, and I'm now at this point where I'm like I've got no choice but to step up and meet them, otherwise I'm going to fall behind, or like I'm not going to they show me what's possible, and it pushes me to be like, okay, I can actually do so much more because this is the level that people are at, and if they can do it, why can't I? Like, and I think that's a big thing with this bundle you're creating is there's so many people in here that have different skills to offer, and if you can soak up the knowledge from all the different people, like let that inspire you to show you what's possible.
Mm. Yeah, there's going to be over 30 women in this for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, it's epic. It's epic. And like, um, and again, with the creativity piece, for me with this, it really stemmed from, I feel like it's time for me to be of service in some way. I've been through like a lot of struggle. I've kind of come out the other side and I've gone through a lot of modalities. I've tried many, many things, worked with many different people. And now uh, like I'm just being called by spirit to like give back. And how can I do that? What's the best way to do that that's going to light me up, that feels good for me, in my own
Mm.
unique way, for example. And it just felt really good. Like I thought at the beginning, I was like, I need to know everything and I need to be the one that knows everything. And I'm like, actually, no, I don't. All I need to do is just collaborate and connect with other people who know a lot, you know, and
Uh,
just create a space where we could all come together and share together. Because actually, what I realized was my deepest desire was just to collaborate more with people. Network is like one of my one of my passions. It's like one of the things that drives me the most. I love working alone. I love doing my own thing. But, you know, like if I were to, for example, like die in 6 months, or like if we were to like do that challenge, when I don't know if you've ever done that questioning where you've asked yourself that question, you've journaled on it, but it's like, what would I want my life to look like, for example? And it's like, well, and then it's backtracking, it's almost reverse engineering that, and then going, okay, well, I would do these things, and this is who I would connect with, and yeah, and I think we have to kind of get down to the core of what's really driving us and motivating us, and what's our values, and then from there we get to create, right?
Yeah,
And make it our own, and just
exactly.
figure out, yeah.
And I think that piece you mentioned about collaboration is such a big thing. And like, it's like the new way of doing business is you don't have to do it alone. And I think that's something that's been so drummed into us for so long, is like it's everyone for themselves. And what is that's all crumbling away. And like the new way is to co-create and collaborate. And that's why I'm getting so much joy out of working in other people's teams, because it's like I tried the doing the coaching thing on my own and I didn't like it, because I didn't want to work online to sit at home alone every day. Like I want to be immersed in with other people. And I think this way you're doing it too is just so beautiful, because you're bringing people together, and it's just showing everyone like that connection is the most important thing.
It is it? And the world that we're creating, let's not forget what's happening in the world right now, and let's not forget the new world that we're wanting to create, of us being together and us unifying and actually seeing more eye to eye, and really starting to question, what kind of world do we want to be living in? And that starts with our little world, like our community and our connections, and like, can we make a smaller version of that, so then that reflects across the globe? Because if everybody's doing that, well, then what's going to happen?
I've
Like,
realized that there's more than enough to go around for everyone, because I think that's a big thing that holds people back as well. It's like that scarcity piece of, well, I've got to just do this for myself, and I can't give too much value because then I'm not going to get anything back, or like that really like keeping things too close. So, and but I've found like the more you just give, the more you get in return. And that's like a big piece that is alive in a lot of the businesses I'm in now, is just how do we keep giving more value? Because people, like, the more you give, you're just being that voice for what we want to create, which is more connection, more collaboration, and more to go around for everybody.
yeah, and I think also it gives people the permission to really understand what abundance means as well. Like, I've come across courses and I've come across things that people have created, and I'm like, this should not be free. Like, why is this free? And I felt so blessed. Like, this is my perspective of it, but I felt so blessed, and I remember I'd stop a moment and I'm like, wow, like, that's so amazing that this person would create that for free. Like, I feel like I've been gifted something. I mean, I have quite a strong connection to my soul, to the universe, to spirit, and I guess I'm quite spiritual in that way. But it just felt like such a gift when I would stumble across these things, and I'm like, wow, like, thank you so much, universe, and it just reminded me of my abundance, and actually my worthiness as well. And sometimes we can forget that, and so when people give more value and just share and do it from this loving place of knowing that there's enough to go around, I think it opens us. It opens us, and it opens us to actually believing and feeling the same too. And a lot of creativity, our ability to flow and create and do things, it really does stem from us knowing that we're already abundant. Mm.
Hmm. So true. And like that's a big thing I've experienced as well, because like all the businesses I work in, that it's not just random people on the other side of the world and stuff. Like they're my network of friends, and like or they have become my friends. And it's like there's that old saying of like you shouldn't mix business with pleasure, and like friends shouldn't do business. And now I'm like in this intertwined world where it's like I'm working with all my friends, and like not just that, but we have like deeper connections. And like one of my one of the people I work with is helping me with my finances. Another one's like helping me with my love life. She's connected me with multiple people, and like there's so many intertwined details, and it's like we're all just connected in so many ways. And there's no like, oh, you shouldn't share that with that person because that's my business way. It's like, share that with them. Like, let's all help one another, and everyone's in it together, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's, yeah, opening my eyes to what's possible when you have that expansive view of there's limitless potential out there, and everyone can thrive together. It doesn't need to be us against them. And I came from a world, like a corporate world, where it was very much like everyone's in it for themselves and everyone's competing against one another. And it's just not like that out in this world that we're creating, which is really beautiful.
Mm. And I did I did a talk with a couple of girls called Violet and Amanda, and they facilitate circles and ceremonies and spaces for women mostly, but men too. And we spoke on the topic of competition and collaboration, and moving from a place of competition and comparison to collaboration, and the importance of that. So that would be a really good one if you wanted to check that out, because it's just exactly what like kind of we're talking about. But yeah, it's moving from that paradigm to this paradigm. Um and like, why would we want to compete like with everybody? Like, why? What's like, how is that nice? Like, to never feel that you can trust someone else. To always feel like you have to look across your shoulder. That is such an old school, like outdated way of doing things. Like, seriously, like I don't want to live like that. I don't know about you, but like I don't want to live like that. Like, I don't want to feel like I can't trust the person I'm doing things with, you know?
No,
And I worked with someone, a few years ago, and it didn't end very well. Like, and he had this kind of mentality, and it I don't know, it just wasn't a good vibe. Well, we clearly didn't work together anymore because that didn't work, right? That didn't work. That ended badly, but um yeah, it just wasn't really my way.
I
So yeah.
have had a very similar experience a few years ago when I was working with a photographer, and then like I had hired her to do my photography, so she knew I was running my own business on the side. But then she hired me to do work for her, and then in the end she didn't like that I was doing my business. She felt like I was like taking clients and stuff. I was like, you've got a completely different demographic to me, and you knew that I was doing my business. Like, I wasn't going to stop. So it's interesting. And yeah, it just shows like that different mentality when
Yeah.
people are like really in that scarcity mindset.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I just want to speak to people that maybe are feeling a little bit self-conscious about their creativity as well. Like, and I think we can sometimes come across people on our path that will actually judge us for it too. So, like the haters, and the people that judge us for those things, and like, hate is always gonna hate. Like, there's always gonna be someone that doesn't like what we do, right? Um, but I think it's more of a reflection of where they are. So I just wanted to speak on that because it's important to remember. Like, I remember living with this one person, again, quite a few years ago. I think it was like 10 years ago now. This is when around the first time when I went to Australia and actually started going there and living. And I was staying with this one person, and she was so jealous of the things that I did and the way I did things and stuff. And I mean, I can't say she made me feel anything because I chose to feel that way. I own how I felt, but it wasn't a very nice environment. Like, and it was like it felt though like she was inflicting this feeling that like it wasn't okay for me to be the multi creative that I am. Like, I can work with any medium. give me anything and I'll do something with it. Like, and if I don't know, I'll figure it out. Like, that's always been how I do things with when it comes
Yeah.
to art, when it comes to creativity, whatever it is. Um, and yeah, it was interesting, and I think it was a reflection of my own insecurity, probably about what I was capable of and what I could do. So I attracted that to kind of help me
Mm,
work through that. But yeah, it was very interesting. I had to obviously move out of that place because it just wasn't working for me anymore. Little things. It was just like walking on eggshells. This feeling of walking on eggshells, and and I think that, yeah, I think if we're ever experiencing that, it's always just going to be a reflection of where we're at with ourselves. And so instead of beating ourselves up about it, how can we just have maybe more compassion and more love and go, okay, is that something maybe I'm feeling about me? And instead of getting bothered by that or being feeling like I'm being rejected, can I just bring it back for a second and then pivot?
mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big piece. And like, I think that can really stifle our creativity when we do allow ourselves to worry so much about what everyone else is thinking. Like, especially if we have come from backgrounds like where we think our families don't quite get us and things like that. Like, I know that's been a big factor for me is, oh, what's my family going to think, or what are my old friends going to think? And that took a long time for me to get over. And it took me going through, like, I'll create different Instagram accounts and I'll create different profiles and I'll keep my life separate. And eventually I was just like, you know what, this is exhausting. I just want to be me in one place, and if people don't like it, they can unfollow me. And really just owning that, or creating safe boundaries where you remove family or remove people that don't feel like they're gonna allow you to express yourself. So finding what works for you so that you can show up in the way that allows you to be in your most full alive expression, because you deserve to do that.
mm, yeah, yeah, I love it. Release the shame and give yourself permission.
Yeah, and also be okay with it not happening overnight. Like, it does take time. And like you said, like, we create these circumstances as well to validate or verify the stories we're telling ourselves, and it's not until we're ready to move past them that will then create the circumstance that allows us to do that. So always coming back to having compassion for where we're at and loving ourselves in whatever process or moment we're in, and trusting that it's all going to work out.
Yeah, 100%. Something that just came through that I really would love you to touch on is just piece around ritual and maybe even spirituality a little bit, and the importance of that when it comes to actually being in tune with ourselves and actually I guess feeling supported, if you like, from a higher force or whatever that may be. Because it's great to have people around us, but sometimes we don't always have that. And something I've been thinking about, like, more recently, is just the importance of us having a spiritual practice or some kind of thing where we can tune in, connect to ourselves, that guides us, when things are chaotic, when things are crazy. Because I think that with what's going on in the world as well, there's like kind of like a spiritual warfare happening. And I think we're being challenged to really turn to what is really true for us. Like it's like a test to see how connected we can be right now, and to like really get down to the roots of that. So I know that you spend a lot of time in ritual and doing things like this. So could you just share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting that you bring that up as well, because we've been through the last month. We've had 2 rounds of floods here. Um, and in both those times, I lost internet for a few days. And for me, like, that's such a big part of who I am and what my identity is and what my work's tied to and all of that kind of stuff. And it was in those moments, especially, that I really turned to ritual, because I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? And like going insane. And then I was like, okay, come back to yourself. Like, literally, I couldn't reach anyone, I couldn't connect to anyone. All the ways I would usually make myself feel good were taken away, and I was like, okay, like come back to center. What do you have right now? You have your body, you have yourself, you have these modalities. And so for me, it was a lot of, it always comes back to self pleasure. A lot of that kind of ritual. Like I have an altar, which I'm looking at right now. So I sit by that every morning. I'll light a candle. I've put fresh flowers by it each every week or so. Um, and just like setting intentions and like tuning into what's alive for me right now and coming back to that. And then also like for me, my biggest ritual is my journaling. Every morning I get up and I write, because that's how I get out what's like all the mess that's in my mind comes out into the paper. And I'm like, okay, that's where my poetry comes through, that's where my ideas and creations and things that I want to put into the world come through. um and then, yeah, just like seeing what is alive in the moment, and if it needs deeper work or processing. Like I went through a lot of ragey, releasey stuff over the last few weeks because I was feeling very frustrated by the floods and the rain and not being able to do anything. So, like really allowing yourself to connect to your emotions and not making it wrong. Like I think that's the biggest ritual, is just always coming back to your body and like seeing what it needs in the moment. Because we can try to do all of these other fancy things, but I think that's the most important one, is just like breath, sound, movement, touch. What is going on? What do I need? And like
Mm,
working with your body.
yeah. And with your altar space, like, can you touch on a little bit, like maybe if someone wanted to create an altar, like what would that look like? Like where do you begin? Like what's the best way to just create that? And also know that altars don't have to just be also one place necessarily. Your whole house can be your altar if you like.
Like I kind of see this as one of my mini altars because it's just got
Yeah.
all of stuff that I love. But I do have like a dedicated altar table. Um, and usually that one I'll rearrange. So at the moment, I'm doing this 5 week online portal, which is around sex, money, magic, and power, and like really calling in a particular archetype, which is where the wealthy creatrix came in for me. And so my altar at the moment has a lot of stuff that's related to what embodies that creatrix. Like, so it's got a crown on there, it's got some, I'm looking, it's got candles and oils, it's got a piece of paper where I've written out everything that that archetype embodies, and then I've like dripped candle wax on it that like the colors represent creativity. I've got crystals, incense, um all kinds of stuff. But yeah, so I guess I guess it's about tuning into what does this particular altar represent for you? What are you wanting to call in at the moment? And starting from there, and then also working with the different elements, like bringing in something that represents earth, wind, water, fire, like whatever feels good to you. Um, yeah, that's probably a good starting point.
Yeah, it's a great starting point. It's a great starting point. Um and I think also having like specifically an altar, because it gives us this place to kind of ground into whatever we're working on, the vision, especially if we've got a lot of going on in our lives. Like creative people that I know or have known, they're busy. Like they're busy, they've got a lot going on, they have a lot in their mind happening. Like the energy can be all over the place sometimes if they're not grounding, if they're not having some kind of practice to like anchor and you know settle them in. I find that we can be, yeah, we can be quite crazy at some points, you know, not always, not everyone obviously comes the same, but in you know in the experiences I've had and the places I've hung out, like I've you know worked at festivals a lot, so like you know what happens, you know, the people that you can kind of connect with you through those spaces. So yeah, one of the biggest things that I needed to learn was just really looking after myself and having that connection, building that foundation, so that I didn't feel so woo woo and like kind of out my head and crazy and ungrounded, so that I could actually anchor in the visions and the concepts and everything that I had going on. Otherwise, it's useless. How can I change the world? How can I help influence anybody or do anything or have the life I want if I don't actually ground it and bring it into the three-dimensional world? It's just floating off in the ethers, you know? Otherwise, it's just that we need to anchor that down, but we have to be anchored ourselves. So yeah, I love that the altar piece.
Yeah, and I think like the beauty of an altarpiece is it's there like as a visual representation all the time. So you put your energy into it, you put your intentions into it, and then it's just like working in the background. It's like, and I have to share this story from the other night. So I lost my car in the floods about 5 weeks ago, and I've been
Oh,
dealing with the insurance, and it just was not like it was getting nowhere. And on Sunday night I was like, okay, I'm frustrated, I'm putting a car key on the altar, and like my insurance is getting sorted. And so we did the ritual Sunday night, and then Monday morning I got a call saying my car had finally been assessed and I'm getting the payout this week. So I was like, yes, the magic
that's
works.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it
Amazing.
can be as simple as that as well. Like I think the thing with ritual and magic and all of that kind of stuff, like it can scare people off because it's like it has to be these big grand things, but literally you can set your altar and forget about it, or you can set it and like light a candle on it every morning and just like set an intention that morning and then blow it out, or like do little 10-minute rituals. Like it doesn't have to be this big grand scale production all the time, but it's just
Yeah.
taking that little time to sit with yourself and sit with what you're wanting to create and what you're wanting to channel through, and it makes such a difference.
Yeah, magic. It's so infused with creativity, like our ability to get creative and trust our intuition. It's all weaved together, like our, it's all of it. All that energy is all weaved together, coming from the same place. I honestly feel so like, and we literally intention. We can it can be anything. Like we can put intention into anything, anything.
Yeah,
You know, we can go. Here's a stone, and I'm gonna blow into the stone. And when I blow, I'm gonna focus on the thing I want, and I'm gonna carry the stone around with me for 30 days, and I'm gonna magnetize that towards me. Like we just made that shit up, but that because we put intention into it, that's gonna work because we're believing it, right? That's
yeah.
the power of creativity. Like I feel for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think as well, is like people have this idea of what creativity is, but creativity is everything. And like literally, we are creative beings, and just being alive is creative. And the way you dress every day, like when you get up in the morning, like the way you move through life, all of that is creation. So everything you do is creativity. And oh, there's this song that my friend shared with me recently, and it's like this really cute like affirmation song, but one of the things it says is creativity is the greatest rebellion in existence. And I'm just like, yes, be creative, and that's how we change the world, through our creativity.
Yes, that is it. Yeah. And I kind of feel like the ones that are able to be rebellious enough to create and to be creative and use their imagination is the people who are going to help really birth this new world more and more. Because we have to be the visionaries together, right? And then we put it together, we have to make it happen. So it's really we're important, like people that really create, that are really like on the, I think we're on the front line, people who are like really own that they are creators and that they're super creative. We're like on the front line. I think a lot of the time. um no, we're one part of the whole. Like it can't just be us. Like there's so many other people making that work. But um, yeah, I think we're definitely the ones that can be bold enough and courageous enough to experiment and to take that step. You know, I think creativity is all about that. So that's amazing. Um, okay, so I know that you've got an amazing gift for everybody. So I want you to just share that with everyone so that they know what they can expect.
It's funny how we talk about like creative inspiration and stuff because this actually like came through me on um Christmas Eve last year when I was feeling really frustrated because everyone I knew had COVID and all the events were getting cancelled. And I was like, sitting at home on the holidays being like, I feel lonely and bored and annoyed. And then I was like, I'm going to write an ebook. And before I knew it, I'd written this ebook all about how to unlock your creativity and monetize your passions. So in this ebook, it kind of touches on a lot of the things that we shared and talked about tonight, but it goes into step-by-step processes and lots of details. So it's all laid out in order and not just like a jumbled mess of my mind that's like, oh, like, which is what probably happened throughout this call. So it's a lot more streamlined and structured, and it actually goes through how to channel your creativity, how to get inspired, and then the different ways that you can actually monetize. So there's
Amazing.
a lot of great stuff in there.
Amazing. And can you just also touch on that creativity is like not just for some people?
It's for everybody. I it's yeah, like so important. And I used to tell myself a lot, like, I'm not creative, I'm not creative. And then I was like, I wear these out there outfits and I do these weird things and I do this and like looked around my room and I was like, everything around me is art. Like literally everything we do is creative. Making food is creative. Like the way you walk and move through the earth, like every single person is creative and everybody has the ability to tap into other parts of creativity if you haven't yet. Like you have the potential to unlock it all, and it's just about having that trust and that faith and that sense of play and adventure. And I think a lot of it comes down to as well is like wanting to reconnect with that inner child and like think about the things that you used to love doing as a kid, because kids are so creative and we lose it as we get older. And then it's like just tap into those things and bring it back and you will find your creative outlets.
Yeah. And that can translate into actually how we just live life as well, how we create our life. And I think this it's so entwined with manifestation. Like, yeah, I mean, as long as we live, as long as we're all humans here existing, we are manifesting beings and we are creators and creatresses. That's it. Like, you don't have to look like, a rainbow to be a creator or creatress. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
everybody's creating every day. We're taking things out of there and bringing it into the physical world. That is creation. So
amazing.
everybody's creative.
So good, so good. So if anyone wants to find you or follow you, where do they go? Where's the best place?
Instagram is the best place, and it's just Jade Marie Scarfoni. Don't know if I need to spell that.
No, 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 it's fine.
Um,
I'll link it. I'll link it. Just some people maybe prefer certain places to go and reach out to them, maybe more responsive. So I just wasn't sure if you had a preference.
I am an Instagram addict. I'm on there all the time. I share my Instagram stuff to Facebook and then like literally don't go on there. So yeah, Instagram's the best place, or via email, but you will be able to connect with my email if you get, I think you get the ebook.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it should be.
Um,
No, I'll put it in. It's fine. I'll put it in. Yeah. So, last question I'm asking all the women just to anchor in this big vision of reclaiming our power. Um, yeah, last words of wisdom for the women tuning in when it comes to reclaiming their power. And it can be different to maybe what we've touched on. But if there's anything else that you feel is really important for women to hear, that would be significant for them on their journey.
hmm, The only thing that's coming through for me right now is just like trust in yourself and learn how to really connect to your inner wisdom, because I think we can get so distracted by all the noise outside of ourselves, and it's when we really come back here that we claim our power. So yeah, come back to the wisdom of your body, and it's all the answers are there.
I love it. That's perfect. That's perfect. That's it. Amazing. So much, Jade. Thank you so much for your time, for your presence, and just yeah, your inspirational story and journey. I'm sure that you're going to continue to touch a lot of people's hearts and help a lot of people.
Thank you for having me. It's been so nice. I feel so honored.
Yeah, yeah. It's been really nice. So good. I'm just loving that we got to actually have the opportunity to connect after all of the rescheduling because of the weather.
uh, the struggle has been real. I do not do well when my internet gets taken away.
Yeah. So good. Amazing. Thank you, love. And yeah, blessings to you.
Thank you so much.